It is, sorry about the lateness, everyone. It's 9:07. I now call the August 22nd San Diego Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board meeting to order. It is 9:07. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Smith. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that Vice Chair Spencer has notified us that they will be absent from today's proceeding. All remaining board members are participating in person today. Member Engelmann.
Present.
Member Ross.
Present.
Member Zupo.
Present.
Chair Schlick.
Present.
Thank you. I would ask that the following individuals please identify themselves for the record. Hearing Board Counsel.
Emily Helm, Senior Deputy County Counsel, Counsel for the Hearing Board.
Jax, Chief of Compliance for the district.
Karen Lee, Program Coordinator. Nicole Sheridan, Civil Actions Investigator. Thank you. I will now swear in those that wish to provide testimony on any item on today's agenda. This includes petitioners, respondents, and ABCD staff. Please raise your right hand for the swearing in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in the matter before this hearing board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Madam Chair?
Thank you. We will now move to non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the board on any subject matter within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on today's agenda. Mia, are there any members of the public that wish to address the board on this on non-agenda communication today? I see that there's no people in person today.
Thank you, Chair Schlick. We have received no requests from members of the public to address the board under non-agenda public communication. However, I would like to ask members of the public that are participating remotely via teleconference to please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided on the screen. You may also indicate that you wish to speak on this item by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen or by pressing *9 now. I'm sure seeing no hands raised. There are no members of the public wishing to provide public testimony on administrative item 8.
Thank you very much. Then looking at the agenda, let's now move to approval of the June 20th, 2024 San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board Statement of Proceedings minutes. Before we proceed, Madam Clerk, have we received any requests from members of the public who wish to address the board today on administrative item B? Thank you for posting the minutes.
Thank you, Chair Schlick. We have received no requests from members of the public wishing to address the board under administrative item B. However, I would ask that if there's any members of the public that are wishing to provide public testimony on this item, to please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided on the screen. You may also indicate that you wish to speak on this item by using the raise hand feature on your Zoom screen, say *9. And Chair Schlick, by seeing no hands raised, there are no members of the public wishing to provide testimony on administrative items B.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, let's proceed with comments from district staff and board members regarding the minutes from the June 20th meeting.
I had a very minor comment to make. It's on this page that you have displayed, which is I think page 6 of the PDF version. It's actually at the top. The stipulated, the title is the Statement of Proceedings. Header has a date. Says June 2nd, and it should say June 15th. Yeah, page 6 at the top, the headers. The header is that page 6? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the first page of the draft of the minutes from June 20th. It's right there. Okay, it says June 2nd on the date, and
okay,
just say June that. Minor there, but I just wanted to point that out.
So wonderful that we always have such great eagle eye. Checking everything.
And
that's very important.
It's the only comment that I have.
Wonderful. Okay. So noting the typo for the date at the top, statement of proceedings, it should be June 20th.
June 2nd happens to be my birthday, so I think that.
Any comments from members of the board? Okay. Let's see, then. Is there a motion for approval?
I move that we approve the minutes.
And do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion by member Engelmann, and it's seconded by member Zupo. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Schlick, member Engelmann,
Yes.
member Ross. Member Zupo.
Yes.
Chair Schlick.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that motion passes with all members present. With the exception of Vice Chair Spencer, who is not present.
Thank you. So now let's move to the petitions. Today's item on the agenda is number 4527, San Diego County Air Pollution Control District, County of San Diego abatement order against Respondent New Leaf Biofuel. Before we begin discussion for this petition 4527, New Leaf Biofuel, Madam Clerk, have we received any requests from members of the public that wish to address the board on petition 4527 today?
Thank you, Chair Schlick. We have received no requests from members of the public to address the hearing board today on petition 4527. However, I would ask any members of the public that are present today on the teleconference line that wish to provide testimony on this item to please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided on the screen. You may also indicate you wish to speak on this item by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen or by pressing *9. Madam Chair, it looks like we do not have any members of the. Oh, there we do. We do have one member of the public wishing to provide public testimony today.
Okay. So as is customary, what we typically do is just hold that person in the queue. We will get the updates from the APCD staff. Then respondent will have an opportunity to present. That's the representatives for New Leaf Biofuel, and then we'll take any public comments from members of the public. So let's hear from the district staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Today I'm pleased to present a status update on New Leaf Biofuel's stipulated abatement order. The update will cover 3 main areas of focus and will include the district's final recommendation to the hearing board, which is a recommendation to terminate the order today. Slide 2, please. Today's update will cover the following 3 topics. First, an overview of the odor data, including the most recent results, and then a summary of the odor mitigation equipment and strategies that New Leaf has adopted over the course of the order. And then lastly, I will go over the district's final recommendation to terminate the order. Slide 3, please. In total, to date, there have been now 85 public odor complaints, as we received a public odor complaint this evening, submitted to the district since November of 2021. These odor complaints have been submitted from 15 unique complaints. The second part of the slide shows only the most recent complaints received since the beginning of the calendar year, which is a time frame that also coincides with when New Leaf began to operate at a significantly reduced cost. Since the start of this calendar year, there have been a total of 8 complaints received by the district. The slide, as shown, only accounts for 7 complaints due to the district receiving a complaint last evening. 5 of the 8 complaints were received in January of 2020. The results of the district's 5 January complaint investigations found in 2 cases that these January odor complaints were not able to be confirmed by district staff. The other 3 January complaint investigations, the odors were all reported on the same day due to the same incident. The truck leaked oil onto the road after leaving Newly due to a driver error and failing to close the latch up. Since the last hearing board update was presented on March 21st, 2024, there have been 3 new complaints received by the district. One of these 3 complaints was received in May. District staff conducted an investigation within an hour, however, did not observe any odors at any of the locations investigated in response to the second complaint was received in the afternoon of Monday, August 12th. And in response to this complaint, an investigation was conducted the next morning. No odors were found during the odor survey. On-site inspection of New Leaf South plant was conducted August 20th. New Leaf staff reported that on August 12th, they experienced temporary power losses, which resulted in some of the parameters of the fan housed inside their odor reduction system, or ORS for short, became reset. So when the equipment powered on again, the ORF fan was not operating at optimum strength at the plant. This error was ultimately noticed and corrected by New Leaf, but this incident may have contributed to the complaint being reported to the district on August 12th. Notice of violation was issued to New Leaf August 20th because for the subplant permit, the odor control equipment is required to be in good operating condition whenever the used cooking oil equipment is also in operation. So an last minute update to provide regarding this slide is about the public odor complaint that was submitted just this evening. District staff responded within 30 minutes to that complaint, and the result of the odor investigation was that no odors were found at any of the 20 locations. Overall, though the district has continued to see few public complaints being reported since the beginning of this year and since Newly reduced its operation. And in fact, the district has not confirmed odor due to these 8 most recent odor complaint investigations at an odor intensity level higher than faint. Slide 4, please. The next 2 slides summarize the most recent odor survey results for the locations that are near or at residential homes. These are the locations where odors would likely cause a nuisance for residents and for which district staff have been routinely monitoring for over 2 years now. In total, district inspectors have conducted now 303 routine odor surveys around Newly Biofuels plants in Maria Logan since November of 2021. In the more recent odor surveys that were conducted in January, February, March, and April of this year, as the slide shows, no odor intensity was observed to be classified as higher than faint near residential homes. Slide 5, please. Again, looking at just recent odor results near residential homes, the low odor trend has held. In May, the most intense odor level was faint. In June, it dropped to very faint. And in July, there were no odors found at any location near homes during the odor surveys conducted that month. In August, odor surveys were conducted August 13th, 15th, and yesterday. The last odor surveys were conducted after these slides were submitted for today's meeting. However, I can report that there were also no odors found near or at residential homes during the 3 August surveys. Slide 6, please. The next 2 slides focus on odor data from all of the 6 different levels of odor intensity, which range from no odors to very strong near residential homes. This slide is a recap of the odor survey results from the entirety of the district's investigation, broken down into 2 tables. The first table on the left shows the odors that inspectors found before newly installed the ORS system at their site plan. Back then, the odors were most frequently classified at a distinct level, followed by either strong or faint odor classification levels near homes. The table on the right shows how the odor results changed after the installation of the ORS at the South Plant on December 2nd, 2022 and onward. After the ORS was operating, inspectors were most likely to find an odor classification of no odors, approximately 62% of the time, followed by odor classifications of very faint 20% of the time near homes during this duration of 20 plus months. This is a significant and positive change. Slide 7, please. This slide has only the odor results starting from March 22nd, 2024. These odor data therefore represent the newest odor survey results since the last hearing board meeting update provided at the March 21st, 2024 meeting over 6 months ago. Again, this table has odors displayed that were found only near homes. Now, 2 of the odor surveys were conducted before today's hearing, and after these slides were submitted to the clerk of the board, the results on the slide are for 30 odor surveys, and there have now actually been 32 new odor surveys conducted. The percentages nevertheless remain nearly the same. The odor data show that the odor intensity has significantly decreased near homes in the last 6 months. During district odor surveys, the most common result is that no odors were being found near homes. The no odor result increased from being found 62% of the time when looking at the last approximately 20 months worth of odor data post ORS operation to now finding a no odor result over 80% of the time, now 84% of the time in the last 6-month period. Occasionally, a very faint or faint odor classification has been found near homes at approximately 12% of the time for very faint odors and 4% for faint levels of odors, respectively. These data show that nuisance odors have been abated consistently for the last 6 months and since the last board update meeting in March. Slide 8, please. This slide shows the number of days district inspectors have observed odors at distinct or higher level odor classifications at any one of the 20 locations on the odor survey route of these plants, not just near homes. Distinct odors have been decreasing since the installation of the ORS. And the district initially observed 70 days when odors were distinct or higher. These data are represented by the first blue dot on the left of the slide. The second blue dot on the left shows that there were still 44 days of distinct or higher odors being found after the ORS began operating at the South Plant and up to the date that New Leaf announced they would be reducing their operations significantly which was announced October 20th, 2023. And that date is shown on the slide as the red dot. After the announcement, the remaining 11 days in October 2023 still had 2 dates where odors were distinct or higher. In November 2023, there were also 2 dates found to be distinct or higher. From December 2023 through February of 2024, the district had a stretch of not observing any distinct level odors at any location. In March of this year, there was 1 date where district inspectors observed a distinct or higher odor. The odor was due to an oil spill from a vehicle north plant, which was cleaned up quickly within an hour. The odors did not reach residents and were not found near homes. The 1 distinct odor found in early April was observed by district staff during the pumping of materials at the south plant. The odor dissipated after the truck was done pumping. The odors also did not reach residents. There have been no odors categorized being distinct or higher at any location near New Leaf's plant in the last 4+ months to date. Slide 9, please. I'm now going to summarize the odor mitigation efforts that have been put in place for New Leaf Biofuel's South plant. The first major odor mitigation strategy was the installation of the odor reduction system at the South plant on December 2nd, 2022. During this same month, the district issued a permit to operate for New Leaf's processing of used cooking oil at the South plant. Previously, New Leaf had been operating at the South plant with an air permit. The permit became required after the district identified the operation of the created nuisance odors. The permit for the South plant introduced operating conditions that New Leaf must always follow to help to consistently reduce odors long term. The next major odor reduction strategy adopted by New Leaf for their South plant operations occurred when they announced that they were scaling back the processing of used cooking oil by approximately 70 to 80%. The reduced operation has been in effect since January 1st of this year. In addition, at various points during the time frame of the stipulated abatement order, New Leaf implemented other smaller incremental changes that collectively help to alleviate South plant odors, such as finding and addressing leak areas inside and outside of the South plant building, upgrading ducting, and increased housekeeping measures. Slide 10, please. Likewise, New Leaf has implemented strategies for odor reduction at their north plant, where biodiesel manufacturing once occurred but no longer occurs, and where grease trap waste processing will still occur. One of the earliest odor reduction strategies employed by New Leaf was to store used cooking oil collection bins in an enclosed manner at the north plant property. This became a requirement of the order in June of 2023. Later in the early fall of 2023, New Leaf began addressing odors from truck activity and purchased a portable carbon canister that operates in a manner similar to the stationary ORS system at their plant. Portable canister captures and filters potential odorous emissions from trucks during the on or offloading of materials. Starting in late December 2023, New Leaf decommissioned their production of biodiesel, and the operation was shut down completely and permanently by January 1st of this year. In April of this year, New Leaf began using passive carbon canisters on the grease trap processing equipment to further mitigate odors inside the north plant. Solid permanent door was also added to the wastewater treatment building at the north plant, where grease trap waste is processed around April of this year. New Leaf formally inactivated its permit for biodiesel manufacturing in May of this year. In June 2024, the district issued New Leaf the authority to operate their grease trap waste processing operation at the north plant. District engineering staff issued an authority to construct, or ATC for short, to New Leaf in June 3rd, 2023. Since the construction of their odor reduction equipment was completed at the north plant in June 2023, the ATC functions as an authority to operate and contains conditions and requirements to mitigate odors from Neely's grease trap waste operations at the North Plant. A copy of the ATC was provided to the board and is available for public viewing in the agenda package space during board meeting. Operating conditions in the ATC eliminate the need for the stipulated order to continue because requirements in the document function to mitigate odors through operating conditions. And these conditions are enforceable by the district should enforcement be needed in the future. Slide 11, please. Finally, the district recommends that the order be terminated effective today, August 22nd, 2024. The district and Neely believe it's appropriate to now terminate the stipulated abatement order because nuisance odors have been mitigated and the results of the odor mitigation efforts have demonstrated that they are consistent and effective over the last several months, including since the start of the calendar year to present date. In addition, Neely has installed and has been using its odor mitigation equipment at both of their plants. And most importantly, the district recommends the termination of the order because the wastewater treatment operation at Neely's North Plant will be conducted under the conditions prescribed by the district in the ATC issued in June of this year, even after it's terminated. Collectively, these accomplishments have mitigated the nuisance odors and support the district's recommendation to the board to terminate the order today. Slide 12, please. This concludes the district's update. Thank you for your attention and for the board's assistance over the last nearly 2 years. Maybe to reach today's important milestone. Please feel free to ask any questions. And again,
Thank you. Okay, so next we will next take our presentation from Respondent with Biofuel. Could you introduce yourself again?
Good morning, my name is Chris White. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Biofuel. Excuse the mask, but I had a positive COVID test yesterday.
It's been going around.
Asymptomatic, but I don't want to leave anyone else with it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I had it a couple weeks ago and I also had to mask for about 10 days. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, next slide, please. So I'm just going to be very brief. I'm not going to go into detail about all the data that the SDAPCD already presented. Just a short status summary where we are with our operations, where we see the water treatment permitting, where we are in terms of all of the initiatives we've completed, our current status, and our where the SAO is in relation to the other requirements we have to understand. Next slide, please. So in terms of permitting, we have now completed all our actions for obviously the South Plant permit has been posted on time. The North Plant by Eagle permit has been inactivated. Using it anymore. We can't meet the compliance requirements for that reason. For the SAO in its various stages of initial drafting and amendments, were other specific actions that have been completed. They're all completed, long completed and finished. And so, you know, we're now pointing in the next slide, please. So we are still continuing with this record. We have an automated system for capturing activity records and housekeeping records still in place, and it's been extended to water treatment, which is on the next slide. So all that is still in place and operating, and has actually been expanded a little as well since the water treatment authority constructed the next slide, please. how it works. So we have a electronically done and mention them so that on a database, and it's available in anything whenever needs to be. So this is just a very brief summary of what Mary provided in great detail. It does include all of the surveys he did, so the numbers are slightly different, but up to our observations of the sort of surveys that we do ourselves corresponded with the that we feel like we to a very large degree on top of the problem of causing any use and growth. So we mentioned water treatment facility. They did, we submitted the construction complete notice, and we just on statement and on Tuesday. So this is just a list, and I only put it in here to have it on the record more than anything else, so that it's been sort of public are interested in this process. They can actually see that while it has been a difficult period for our business, we have actually initiated a lot of things. And the next slide. There has been a lot of things that are done, there's been a lot of money spent, a lot of equipment installed, a lot of procedures put in place to make this happen. It hasn't just by sitting around and hoping that we'll get there. And the next slide shows just our external spending on this since the so it's been a very substantial investment, but it's been difficult with the financial and operating changes we've been making, but we feel like it's been money well spent for the results to achieve. Next slide, please. So the north plant, just so people understand where it's at, with the plant completely empty of any reagents or product. All the vessel reactors have been opened and vented. All the nitrogen systems, all the methanol, any flammable materials, any other chemicals that we use to make like these all are gone. Those are there, tanks are gone, quite a few large equipment items have been taken, has been removed. Filling system has been removed, is sitting outside waiting. Hopefully for a buyer to come along, and we are advancing as quickly as possible in San Diego in preparing to extract the major reactor vessel and sell them in the next hopefully by the close of the year. Slide, please. So just to explain where we are. The south plant is now reduced to 5 days of operation, daytime only. So just to explain what that means, at 5 o'clock in the morning, an operator arrives, sets up, checks status of all equipment, starts processing. He's usually finished before midday in processing material. He then goes off and does other things for some period, and then he comes back when trucks arrive, chuck them away, make sure that stuff's going in the right place, and that we have sufficient space to receive all the incoming material. We're only processing our own material. We don't have any other third-party material coming into the facility. And in terms of relative volumes, we're probably below 20% of our previous volume. The water treatment plant, all of those ATC conditions are in place and at any time. Next slide, please. So what we did, and this is hard to read, but I just want to show that we actually did go through the exercise of trying to look at what are all the requirements under the law. This is what's in the essay. And the permit to operate has a lot more detail of operating conditions, compliance levels, you know, measuring sulfide, pressure differentials in the building, those sort of operating conditions, power, all those sorts of operational details which are important, and really, you know, awful lot of things that aren't here. What's not in the permit to operate that wasn't there was stuff that is now embedded in our daily record operation work, keeping intervals and stop and so on. The only other thing that's not in there is the storage of containers. I think that's in place, which is the trailer. We have an operation that's already in place. And the other last thing was that one of the required investigation of other sources, and that needs to and to those identified sources have been complete because we have more analysis and we know the country is things likely that water treatment is the same. There were a couple of most of the items in the permit to operate in the SAO were the things that had to be done, and they're all completed. So they're in construction. Presumably will be very similar to the permit to operate as existing items used, whether it's in the SAO, they were as items that could be. So we felt like, you know, what we in letting it go, there was nothing really that were covered except transitional activities that are embedded in our normal. So our summary was pretty much the same as the ABCD summary. We felt like the data shows that we are really the level of control of odor, especially adapted to residences, that we have a set of permitting conditions that are working from our point of view, working reasonably well. And about almost all of the SAO and a lot more requirements. We feel like we've put a lot of time and money into getting to where we are from where we started, and we think the SAO has an ongoing use.
Thank you very much. So, okay, so we've had both of the presentations. Let's next hear from the public speakers, and we'll have a board discussion and questions. Presenters. Thank you, Chair Schlick. Our first public speaker would be takes a little bit of time. So would be Nicholas Paul. Mr. Paul will remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak, and self-regulate your time and conclude at the end of those 3 minutes. So
Good morning. Can you all hear me okay?
yeah. Okay, you may begin.
Hi, good morning, APCD hearing board members, staff. My name is Nicolas Paul. I'm an air quality advocate with the Environmental Health Coalition. And, you know, I wanted to kind of chime in and express gratitude to APCD staff, to the New Leaf leadership as well. We know that a lot of work and time has been invested in trying to address this problem. And residents have spoken to me about how much better the situation is when it comes to odors in the neighborhood. And so that's a huge and super powerful thing. I think this we can't deny, this has been a really hard process on everyone, especially the residents. And I think looking back and reflecting on where we were in 2022, where residents were finding it difficult to go outside, and were embarrassed to invite people over to their homes. This is a dramatic improvement, and I think a testament to um, uh, regulation can be, right? I think a lot of positives came out of this campaign. Most importantly, I think residents have kind of been empowered to be active agents in the betterment of their neighborhood. And I think moving forward, residents know now how to report odors if they come back. And I think there is a lot of happiness and great feeling right now. But again, I think residents are now equipped with the knowledge on how to address these odors moving forward. And so again, we want to express our gratitude to APCD staff and ULEAF leadership for addressing this situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate hearing from you. And the community at large.
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment for
Wonderful, thank you. Okay. Board will proceed with discussion on this item update and recommendation to withdraw the stipulated abatement.
You won't be surprised to know that I have some questions first.
So that's the discussion. Yeah, that's fine. So let's start with questions.
Okay, so I do have a couple of questions for New Leaf. First of all, or maybe this is a question for the district, but I'll direct it to New Leaf first. The record keeping sheets that you displayed in there. I'm assuming that a lot of the record keeping came out as a result of this process.
Yes, what came out of it, I think, is an automated way of capturing and storing it so that it's always available when anyone wants to inspect it. Previously, we had a lot of paper-based sheets, and in our environment, paper-based sheets are always terribly compatible with the state of people's hands and instruments during operations. So they tended to be pleasant and difficult to store and sometimes not terribly legible. So that was the main motivation to move into this.
Okay, and then the records that are being kept, are those largely required by permit, or are those mainly plant procedural requirements? Both?
Yeah, so it cuts everything. We have safety, probably safety rules would preempt PCD rules. Sometimes operational rules, it's consideration, but they're all there together, so they're not separate. Checklist, and they're all equally required to be done at the interval.
Okay. And okay, the next question I have is regarding odor complaints. I know that people know that they can call the APCD and report an odor, and that creates a regulatory action. Is there a mechanism for community members to contact the plant directly if there are odor concerns?
We've invited people many times to contact us directly, and they're welcome to.
Okay, so if you're not receiving the complaints from the community, they're going straight to the APCD.
Sometimes may well be sensible basis to it. Different applications from when it goes from inspectors, they're not quite so rational. But I mean, that's the way it is. We're not worried. on just making sure our performance is where it should be.
And I would encourage you to continue to reach out to the community and encourage them to work with you, perhaps as there's a longer track record of less issues and more, obviously you've taken a lot of action. There may be more trust placed in you and so they may feel more inclined to contact you so that you can take action quickly if there are voters rather than going through the regulatory process. They can also do this. Okay. The other questions I've got, I guess, are directly for the APCD. Some of these are mainly for putting on the record. I know that there have been questions in the past from members of the public that may not be on today, but may hear the recording later. First of all, we've talked about the odor survey, and we've gone through this before in previous hearings, but there are different levels of odor detection. Faint is the one that's the highest level that has been smelled recently in surveys and in response to complaints. Can you remind everybody at what point an odor becomes actionable by the APCD, or how that, like, why that matters, the faint versus strong versus distinct?
We've had discussions in prior meetings, but not recently, where we explained how our nuisance rule works, and it is more of a case-by-case assessment.
Right.
And so that's how we've dealt with it. We haven't had to take enforcement action based on the more recent results. The odors have been reduced. We've received less complaints. We've got permitting conditions in place. Our operations reduced. So we haven't made that nuisance declaration since last August. But the way that the statute works is it's public nuisance is a case-by-case consideration.
Okay.
So we just kind of look at the data, which is the 6 odor levels classification, starting from no odor and going up to very strong, and look at those results.
I'm not gonna add to the public nuisance, both our district rule 51 and the health and safety code. It's about public impact. So that's what the inspections are. So distinct and higher, staying strong, very strong. Those are no brainers. Those are easy to document and demonstrate that there's public impact. But even if they are lower detections, if it's frequent, if it's, it depends on the proximity, like in this case, people lived across the street. So they're easier to be able to demonstrate and document public nuisance even out. So there is the case-by-case element. That's what the source is, proximity and the impact from the public, but it's looking at everything as a whole to be able to make that determination.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The next question, well, I'm going to make a statement and then actually ask you to confirm whether or not this is correct. I know that in one of the previous hearings, it might have been just the last one, and when the New Leaf was planning on discontinuing their biodiesel operation and their permit, there was a concern of, hey, what if they can just flip on the switch after this is all over and get started again? My understanding of the process is at this point, they do not have a permit, they do not have equipment on site. And so in the unlikely event that on that site, somebody wanted to start up a biodiesel plant again, there would be a new permitting process started, likely to be a public notice that goes out to the neighborhood, and there would be obvious signs of construction before any biodiesel plant could possibly get restarted at that location. And I'm not saying that to say that there's going to be one or that there's a plan for one. I'm saying that I want to make sure that there's an understanding of this isn't something that somebody can flip the switch back on and start at a moment's notice and nobody knows about it until there are odors again. Is that a fair assessment? Do you want to make any corrections to what I said?
That's fair assessment, absolutely. The process in order for a facility like this to come online would have to be involved in equipment installation, be very noticeable to the public as well as to the district. And across board, if installations occur at any facility that are required and permitted, especially facilities that know that permits are required, strict and swift action is taken. So, and as well as, you know, if there's any future odors, that's something we continue to document.
Right. That's, thank you. And that actually gets to my last issue, which is, the agenda item on today is basically to end the stipulated abatement order. That doesn't mean that the facility is no longer regulated. In fact, it means that they're in compliance with all of the regulatory requirements and that they're still subject to nuisance requirements, permit requirements. And so in a sense, if we were to discontinue this stipulated abatement order today, the facility is still being very closely regulated by the ABCD. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. The permit to operate that is now in place is actually more detailed and has all the information, the requirements in the abatement order. And so that's, I think, a very key point, and where the district feels confident that we can, you know, end this process is the new process where they're operating under the permit to operation has begun and will continue to go.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Those were wonderful points. Thank you. Do either of our other members have questions or comments or
I-
discussion?
See you guys. So you have a biodiesel operation that is now. Question to you is, what was your reduction in revenue based on that reduction?
Well, I'm not sure revenue is the right number to use biodiesel. Production has been negative, the proposition for quite a while, and so we just reached the point where we could not see a future where a plant of our size would be able to turn that positive. So financially, it's a huge amount of money because it's not only expanded in 2021 to, you know, write off, but it's also not a bad situation. But the revenue is substantially less, obviously.
Yeah, and well, the reason I bring that up is a reduction in significant revenue can be a means to say that you could get a variance. So that's one of the reasons I say that. But also because I'm not sure everybody understands this, biodiesel is a renewable. Not only is it renewable, but it is a renewable, which in city we have to strive to obtain. And I think that's important. I see the numbers that you had. Complaints go, there were 15 complainants submitting 80 complaints, roughly 5+ per person. With my experience at the APCD and other complaints during the field barbecue, most complaints come from 1 or 2 people that call a lot. And getting with 5 complainants, that was probably fairly a situation. And my question to you is, can they view your operations?
In terms of,
Can they see your plans and what's like inside?
not, I mean, in the south part, it has to be fully enclosed, it's fully enclosed, but if anybody wants to come and have a look, we'll come and have a look.
The reason I asked is because you mentioned a spill and complaint that followed. People are used to complaining if they see anything that they suspect. Submit a complaint. But the reason, what I'm driving at here is that there seems to be a small number of people. For a Rule 51 violation, there has to be a significant number of people that are significantly impacted. Is there a definition of significantly? No. On either side. It was enough obvious in the situation to abatement. I'm new to this, I didn't know that. Petition, I found the pretty strong. I commend Newly for the actions taken to follow and to amend what's been going on. That's outstanding, in my opinion. I do have a question. APC, what rule actually regulates biodiesel?
So I will answer that question, but I think, I'll take a step back and respond to your comments. So it's in Rule 51, Health and Safety Code, considerable number of people. Considerable can depend Again, this comes down to public input. If there are 3 or 4 residences nearby, and all 4 are impacted, that's considerable number for that population. So I think a big part of this was what made this case challenging is because of the proximity. If this plant was farther away from residences, they may not have. The impact was because it was directly across the street. It impacted a considerable number of people in a very close proximity. So there were more than just 5 complainants. We do look at that as well, the number of complainants and the number of one person calls 1,000 times. That doesn't, that is a big difference than 1,000 people calling. So, of course, that's a big extreme example from the point of view. But just want to make that point that there were a fair amount more than 5. And so we look at these because it's to establish a specific rule, a specific number, it's going to vary from case to case, vary based on, again, the proximity of residences and the type of pollutants and the type of facility. So when we look at these cases, we make that full determination. So that's kind of what led us here from a while back. But to answer the question, is there a specific rule to biodiesel? So in this case, if there are, as I know, there's regulatory rules specific to pollutants and issues that are countywide. And then there are some requirements that are only in a permit because there aren't many facilities of that nature. In this case, there are not a lot of biodiesel operations in the county of San Diego. So the enforcement avenue is the permit to operate. And so that's the avenue we were pursuing through abatement order for immediate action and then leading us to the permit to operate. So it's continued regulation.
So that falls under.
Yes, correct.
Madam Chair, would I be able to offer a comment on
Give
that?
me a second. Because member Ross is kind of new, could you just bring us back with William Jakes to kind of the difference between the type of odor that originally was at the problem here versus Bill's barbecue was like a barbecue order. Like, could you just kind of like
Yeah, I
just
don't
kind
know
of get
if
him?
Emily would chime in too. I'm not sure. My understanding, we should not be speaking about other cases while we're talking about this. I don't know.
Just what
But
was
yes, what to,
in
yes,
this case?
I want to make that one small point and then exactly, absolutely can comment. So the type of odor that was described was, it's sulfur based. It's, it from community members, any to extreme to it stinks to decaying flesh to a large variety of different odors. But at the process in biodiesel, it brings waste, not waste, restaurant grease,
Mhm.
and it's used spent restaurant grease that's sitting in water. So that's the odor, the main odor that was causing this, and that process from that original material to the final. So there's different parts of the process that smell more than others. But again, just because the proximity to it does, anyone that is near the back alley of a restaurant and people just dump their restaurant grease, that causes an odor just within a matter of a day or two. But in this case, that material that has been there for a while, it's part.
And
I don't know if Mary has more than that.
oh, yes.
Yeah, I think William did a good job of explaining it. It was a bad odor and it's nearby. It's nearby residents and used cooking oil and sometimes, it wasn't the purest, that they were receiving. There's like bones in it and, napkins. And so all of these things had to be taken out and kind of put aside. And so what we basically did over the course of the last 2 years was come in and give them some permit conditions requiring things to be closed, kept under negative pressure, production system, just because of the nature of the business, it does have odors. And so, I think over the last 2 years, we slowly but surely put together permit conditions and got equipment installed to address the problem, but it certainly was.
Okay, and then next, regarding the issue of couldn't there be a variance? Typically, you can't have a variance unless you have a permit, right?
There's no permit and it was Rural 51, so yeah, I think that
Okay.
would be
Yeah.
into that we would have been able to
Okay,
consider.
because I was just curious.
And I think we would have opposed it up.
Okay,
In theory, you could without a permit, if somehow a operation is subject to a rule and not to the permit, which would be unlikely, rare. Technically, you could, but ultimately where you can't get a variance from the health and safety code. We know state and federal regulations, so where there's overlap, permit conditions are rules, state and federal regulations. It's the state and federal regulations that kind of disallow the granting of variance. A variance leading to a public nuisance, as well as a requirement for the facility to get. So those are basically the disallowances, but technically anything else. Yeah. Absolutely, a facility can't, from our understanding and what our interpretation of health and safety code is, ultimately your decision is based on those are what's not allowed. That's very clear in the health and safety code. If it's not anything else within the rules and permit conditions, allow for a potential granting. Depending on the finding.
all right, New Leaf, you don't have to comment on this, but if you would like to.
I just wanted to explain to Mr. Ross that our motivation in doing what we did wasn't really to satisfy the complainant. It was to satisfy the people who weren't complaining, but we lived in the same area. We had people saying it was an odor, we explained what we're doing. They were patient, they waited, but it wasn't, we didn't want to help people complain, but it was a bigger group of people who weren't necessarily complaining. I mean, we were, I guess, caught this to a certain extent because I don't just recently started with the company and been there for 13, 14 years, never had any fun. So, you know, what we had a focus on. I understand what you're saying, all of those things that you raised went through our heads, but in the end, when you see that there are good people and your reputation and your sort of duty responsibility, it is on you. You've got to make a decision about what you do. You leave and it's fair and play. The only problem and climate that.
Thank you. And any other comments?
Yes, a couple comments or
Perfect.
questions. I want to first start off that thank you. I appreciate all the work that's been done. I'm new to San Diego. We moved here a year ago, and ironically, the reason why we moved here is Hyperion wastewater treatment plant. I live less than a mile from the plant. It had a catastrophic spill on July 11, 2021, and it's still ongoing. The smell was horrific, and we had to uproot our entire family and move because we have young kids. So this is very near and dear to my heart because it's why we moved.
Yes.
Yeah, it was horrible. And it was also an H2S smell, but when you smell it daily, it literally drives you insane, especially when your kids are complaining about it. So I really do appreciate everything that's been done. And I do think sometimes the public, I saw in the very beginning, there was lots of complaints and they trailed off because you just throw up your hands. You're like, nobody's listening. So I know that was personally what I experienced as I was like calling. Finally, I was like, I'm too busy for this. Nobody cares. So that's why like a lot of times the calls drop down. But in this case, I think it's because it actually was working. Unlike the Hyperion situation. But I had some questions. One was, and I apologize, I'm new to this, and it may have been mentioned in the permit, but is there like backup power in case? Okay, so if the facility does lose power and then the odor control equipment doesn't work, like how does that work?
Well, it just doesn't work until it's power. I mean, this is the recent problem we had at the beginning of last week. It is, I mean, to provide 480 volt backup power is pretty much impossible for a large, high current device. So I guess the only positive part of it is that nothing else, there's no processing, there's no heating, there's no nothing. So
Okay.
the likelihood of significant odor release be low. There's a problem. It's always a problem when you have active odor control that requires again, we're close to. And I've lots of other problems, you know, and say anything that is being infecting or offended, but, you know, sometimes, there are a lot of power quality issues in that as well that can cause problems. So it's just one of the things we have to be on top of, and for us, the key thing is to adapt to the situation. We've gone from being 24/7, having multiple people on shift every day of the week, every hour of the day, to having, you know, one person 5 days a week during the day, for part of the day. So we got to think about how we adapt.
That makes sense. I appreciate it. This is a question for the district too. So, and I'm new to this, I apologize. Previously, were the complaints, were they just odor, or were there also people having health symptoms? Because I'm not sure air toxics, this type of operation.
So yeah, toxic review, we know that to a certain extent, and yeah, then it was determined that it wasn't so much toxics, it was the odor nuisance.
Okay, because Hyperion also had renewables, and that was full of air toxics as well. We were exposed to all of that. And we had a lot of health symptoms, headaches, nausea, all that. My other question too, I just want to make sure my understanding is correct, because in the South Coast Air District, anytime you have a brand new ATC, or they call it PTO, permit to operate, anytime you're going to open up and revise it, like let's say you want to go to full operation 7 days a week, that's public process. It's the same here. Okay. Perfect.
There's actually a permit appeal process. It rarely comes to the hearing board, but that is not
Okay.
for either public or facility.
Perfect. Let me see, just going through notes to make sure I missed anything. I think that's the extent. Okay. So I appreciate, thank you. It's very near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate everything the New Leaf is doing, because that's definitely not happening in other places.
Wonderful. Good. Okay, is there any other comments, questions? If not, seeing none, is there a motion to accept withdrawal of the stipulated abatement order and abatement order, as recommended by the district?
I so moved.
Okay, we have a motion by member Engelmann. Is there a second? Second. Okay, Supo. Got Supo first. Madam, so there's a motion by member Engelmann, seconded by member Supo. Madam Clerk, will you please? Thank you, Chair Schlick. Member Engelmann?
Aye.
Member Ross? Member Supo?
Aye.
Chair Schlick? Yes, that motion passes to, and I would just like to clarify the language. Would it be to withdraw the stipulated abatement order or to terminate? Stipulated abatement. Let's ask Emily Helms, and let's make sure Ms. Helms have me. Is this sufficient for the record to just vote? You know, it's sometimes we have to specify the motion and the reasons for it. Could you give us some guidance?
Yes, of course. We don't believe we have any particular findings that need to be made in order to terminate the abatement order. And we would say terminate because it's not really being withdrawn. It was in effect. But we always want the board to, articulate its reasoning and explain why it's making the decisions it's making. So that would be our recommendation.
So I would be happy to do that. I think what I would like is, could you pull up the second to last slide of the district's presentation? I believe it had the most succinct findings, reasons for our termination today.
Slide 11.
Oh, and since you're making, would you like to read it? Or
I could.
I think it'd be one.
it's the second one more.
Think about it.
Yes, this one. Yes, terminate the, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this pretty much does sum it up. The reasoning for terminating the stipulated abatement order is because nuisance odors have been mitigated. Odor mitigation has been consistent over the last several months. Odor reducing equipment has been installed in use at both plants, and a new permit is in place for the wastewater treatment operation. So in a sense, there's not a need for the stipulated abatement order because the the facility is now permitted for the operations that they are running at the facility, and there's no substantial need for any deviation from those requirements.
Perfect, yes, okay, so that's the motion, we've already actually voted on, it, but, and that will be, in the record, so.
And Chair Schlick, that motion passes with all members present voting aye, with the exception of Vice Chair Spencer, who was not present for today's meeting.
Okay, thank you, and anything else, Ms. Helms? Suggest or?
No, congratulations. This has been a long one, so congratulations to everyone.
Yes, it has been a long one. We do appreciate everyone's support, everyone working on this, the public's patience and input. So thank you, everyone. And this now concludes the hearing board business for the regular meeting of August 22nd, 2024. The next regular meeting of the ABCD hearing board will take place on September 5th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.